Are you at a point where you're weighing up and thinking about like either a new job, your first job, transitioning to a job with more pay, seeking a promotion, or anything kind of like of that nature where you feel that you would simply like more money and you think the money will fix all your problems? Well, I'm glad because I've kind of had some like recent developments and thoughts on this and reflections, and I want to kind of be able to share with you what I've been able to really gain from this and kind of look back at my own journey a little bit to help you kind of figure out which position or path to understand more so in order to take that step with a bit more confidence and kind of knowing where you're leading to. So let me explain. So the thing for me is at the very start, I came out of law school simply wanting a job that was something to do or related with law, right? So obviously, whatever you applied for in terms of your university, you'd like something related to what you studied to justify the fact that you were there and to, of course, leverage that experience that you gained and the sense of how to like learn, for example, which is kind of like what I did. So of course, any first job is really difficult for the first person coming out because you need them to take a chance on you, right? So based on that, any job comparatively is going to be fantastic in terms of getting money because we all know that in the first instance, this first job as a graduate starting out isn't going to be anything exceptional or anything amazing. It's going to be kind of more later into that career. But if we compare that to, say, what you had from a part-time job or having no money at all, being just primarily a student, this is or represents a substantial growth, right? And that's kind of the point of the first situation, because we kind of know the people at the top, the more senior people in the role, as they have more responsibilities, have been there for longer, they're in many positions ahead of you. They're the ones that are really, kind of pulling the strings and have kind of, they get all the money because they're the face of the brand. They're driving a lot of the revenue to the company, and it kind of works in that corporate structure. So the kind of people more at the bottom are more or less paid peanuts that, like, pay rises are said every year, but they're kind of more disguised as like indexation or something. And I'm not kind of going to go down that rabbit hole. And of course, I'm very grateful for the first opportunity I got. But I guess what it kind of got me thinking of, or what I want to share with you, is understanding where you want to position yourself over time and in years so you don't necessarily feel either trapped or that kind of a lot of your time could be spent on other things, which is kind of why I want to explain the purpose of this video is leverage and leveraging your 9 to 5 as much as possible. So what do I mean by that? So I guess to understand and unpack that, I'll have to break down or again share my situation or kind of what I learned from my first job and kind of the first position that was kind of advertised to me or kind of came my way in terms of seeking to take that next step or get a promotion, and kind of what I thought at the time would be a good opportunity. So it was no secret I've been working at my job for somewhat like 2 and a bit years, or kind of around thereabouts, I think. And then what happened was there was another kind of similar, I guess, firm or business that kind of was offering a senior position, which is kind of the next position up from where I was, if I would make the jump over to them. Now, of course, this was quite enticing at the time and did offer a substantial pay rise, or what I thought at the time was a substantial pay rise, till I had it realized or unveiled to me that what these other companies do is to kind of poach you from another employer. They seek to effectively fast track your promotion, which would mean that they would give you it now, and then they have, of course, the concept of the 6 month probation, where if they're not happy with you, they can get rid of you, no questions asked. But on the guys that you do stay with them, they might hold out the next promotion from you, which means you have to go somewhere else. So then you're constantly caught in this trap of having to effectively jump ship to get to a higher position. And that's kind of not really a great idea. And a lot of people will be able to see through that you're kind of just kind of doing that. The other opportunity would, of course, be to stay with one said company until, of course, you excel up the ranks and, you kick some butt and you get the promotions and, all that good stuff comes through, right? Right. So that's kind of why I didn't actually take that position. And I'm kind of glad I had the chance to think about that, because that kind of resonates with like my next point and understanding that I probably wouldn't really be that much in a better position in terms of, the pay rise I thought I would get and the difference that it would actually make. And of course, what you can do is, if you're like, curious, you can kind of like do like a little, piece of paper type calculation to understand, well, what this pay rise would equate to. Because of course we've got to factor in tax and stuff. So it actually, the reality of what you think you're getting isn't really kind of what you're going to get. And often the reality of kind of going up your own like corporate ranks is that the pay rises, again, aren't really anything to kind of allow you to feel like, until you get to that really high level, which carries a lot of responsibility, what you thought they would be in terms of how they would instantly transform your life, right? So that kind of leaves us with a couple of interesting points, because so to get to the, say, senior position of what I had would take about, 3-4 years of, after uni experience to kind of have that ability to, be eligible for that next, position increase, right? Which is which does require some time, I won't lie. So a bit of an investment from yourself. But what if we could kind of rephrase those 3 to 4 years, or start thinking a bit more strategically? And so what I mean by that is my probably current opportunity that I've had, or current job that I've shifted to and had now for almost a year and a half. And by that I mean the concept of how this leverage comes into place. So you see, the thing is, working a 9-to-5 job is great, but the benefit of this leverage I'm about to share is that for me, I've been able to tailor this a number of ways. I can get to a point where I can start work earlier, finish earlier, start work later, finish work later, so on and so forth. There's a great deal of extra flexibility added to the job. There's also the job security, which in current times, economics and whatnot, does help us to feel a bit more, help me to feel a lot more secure in kind of what was going on, which is really helpful for kind of having that confidence and peace of mind, being able to sleep, being able to feel that, you've made the right decision. So by that is, I mean, okay, so you've got effectively what I've done is leverage the place where, I have certain set hours that I'm allowed a flexibility to work. So if I finish earlier, I can go home early or whatever. And see, the benefit of that is that if we take those same 3 to 4 years, but you leverage that spare time. See, because if you're kind of in more of a private, or most sort of like companies that kind of work you pretty long hours, you don't really get that extra time to leverage towards anything. It's kind of just consumed within the work, which is a good and bad thing, because of course you get heaps of experience. If you really stick it out, you're probably likely to get more recognized, but most chances you're not. You kind of, unfortunately, kind of getting taken advantage of. But then what I'm trying to get at is that investment is better spent on yourself. How do I mean this? Okay, so for me, moving to this new place allowed me to kind of focus more and kind of come to realize some goals I've had in my mind about getting back into running 5K and really starting to build that fitness that I've been seeking for myself for some time. And through having that flexibility and peace of mind to know that, I can have a routine and, get up early and then kind of go to work after, or if I get up a bit late, I can still go for that run and then get to work. And it's kind of not the end of the world, like, because it's flexible, right? Gives me a lot more peace of mind to kind of focus on that goal. And then also the idea of creating this content is a space that I can currently flourish where I'm at, because I feel that there's not really the added pressure of having to work ridiculous hours for some very, loose goal that's really tied to more higher up people than you. I mean, obviously it does benefit you and it's a stronger case for your promotion, but in the grand scheme of things, if you could spend that same amount of time consistently on something, or learning a skill, or further developing a goal of yours, like for me, fitness, I think you're going to be better served in the next 3 to 4 years because you've kind of developed, who you stand for. You've got a sense of routine, and it's all come from that leverage. So if you kind of compare yourself to the situation of, being at that, that job that doesn't really allow for that, you're going to really have to work harder to leverage outside of the 9 to 5, assuming the 9 to 5 time is fixed. So you have to kind of really then leverage more of the weekend and be quite strategic with that. I mean, obviously discipline is important, so you have to be even more disciplined to do so. See, but for me, like having this opportunity has made me really grateful to reflect that I guess like I can think a little bit more broadly about kind of where my goals, aims, and aspirations are, opposed to just kind of putting all my eggs in the work basket. Because again, if we see the idea of like, potentially your wages going up, we also got to now factor in these other concepts of like, cost of living and things becoming more expensive. So in like the grand scheme of things, that's quite, the way I now see it is that's actually quite a scary thing to kind of put all one's eggs in one basket. Whereas kind of having this opportunity to talk to you, share my lessons as I learn through life in a really fun way, kind of allows me that outlet to A, be creative, and B, seek to inspire you to kind of think in a way and mentor you that I wish I had when I was kind of coming to an earlier crossroads. And if I kind of thought about this at the beginning of my journey when I came out of university, and if I could have worked straight away for the place I'm working now, I feel I would have been in a much better position to kind of leverage myself even more so for that development. But then, of course, I'm grateful for the experience I already had. Don't get me wrong. But like, if I had to do it again, here's like what I would say to a younger version of me that was seeking a career path that what I was in terms of like the corporate professional world, in terms of how to balance that and kind of have something like this, and have those goals of fitness and kind of being an inspiration to others and an athlete, and again, how to leveraging that. So that's kind of like the way I see it. So for me, like, if you're wanting to like conquer mountains and conquer life that I've basically been sharing in every video, you kind of have to, put yourself in a position where things can be as consistent and as routine as possible. Obviously, there's going to be things that come up, but the more that you can do that, the easier it's going to be to build that consistency, to show up day in and day out, to conquer the mountain and conquer life, because you know that there's that ability to do so. Like, I'll give you one other example. So I guess as a kind of final point to tie this and come full circle as to why I realized I'm really happy where I'm at, and it's perfect, to leverage me where I want to go forward in the next, 3 to 4 years working on something, or, 1 to 2 years, so on. Or, yeah, basically continue to work on this YouTube to grow it and kind of, express my ideas and add value to those around me, right? So there was a position that someone did approach me and say, would you like to work for this? And of course, in my current job right now, that would be an increase of wage. Yes, I realize that. So of course, part of me was thinking, well, that is tempting. But again, comes with a caveat. This is an organization more likely than not that you probably wouldn't have that same level of flexibility. So what I mean by that is, I'm kind of back to where I would start. All right, I've leveraged myself to get, in a better pay position, but being drained, not having the energy to think creatively, create stuff, and building that consistency and kind of, striving to get further on my fitness journey would kind of put me more backwards or further from where I wanted. And also knowing that I want to grow things outside of just having simply like one wage come through, like the things I've been able to do lately in terms of think of how else to expand, like have been really, would not be achieved or possible if it weren't for this position and flexibility to kind of be like responsive effectively to kind of think about my next step forward. And that's kind of what I want to share with you and make this video for you to think about leverage and, figuring out your job and if it's kind of best served for you to seek your current goals and understanding what your current goals are in order to, like show up to conquer the mountain and conquer life. Thank you.